Hey everybody, it's Monday, November 24th, 2025. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, where our Thanksgiving menu is on point. It's me, your man, MG, Marcas Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and LaQuan Jones. Here's the thing. I rarely have a way I plan to open the show. Most times it's just based on vibes or feel or something. And sometimes a show open just falls into my lap. Because today, when I logged on to StreamYard, Florio, you and LaQuan are having a conversation about wide receivers. I walked in, I logged on, and I assumed you were talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba, and that if there was ever a wide receiver who could win the MVP.
I said 6 letters.
Okay.
I said JSN MVP, and then I sat back.
And then, LaQuan, you had feelings. You had feelings.
I have thoughts. I had thoughts and feelings, but I would say this, right? I crashed out. A little peek behind the curtain. I crashed out before we started, and I thought that was going to be the cold open, which should have been. I had a lot of points, a lot of feelings, but I'm going to say this, though. Jackson Smith-Njigba can be the offensive player of the year. Keep his name out of the MVP conversation, because that is just straight pure ignorance when we're looking what Matthew Stafford is doing right now.
So,
is he about to have the best season ever by someone playing his position?
I am going to let everybody in on kind of what has been happening on this show behind the scenes for the last, I don't know, month? Is that about right, Florio? The last month or so?
Give or take.
LaQuan with the Rams is, I mean, stan is probably not even a strong enough word for how you feel about the Rams, right? In that, if anyone says something, so like I think I compared you to like a member of the Beehive, right? Or a Swiftie or something, where like if somebody, people don't even have to insult the Rams. They just don't have to properly praise them for your liking, and you are ready to strike. And so now for the listeners out there, it has become a game for a lot of us.
And it's very easy.
It's very easy. I mean, it is easy mode Madden to get LaQuan to get fired up to the point of nearly crashing out. Like, we will text him things about, like, what did I say yesterday? Like, something about Stafford's MVP case is dinged because Cam Ward had more passing yards against the Seahawks than Stafford did. I know that's not the case. Like, I know that. But it immediately got a response.
Friday.
And so Florio saying JSN MVP, like, you're ready to go to the mattresses. I'm using like from the Godfather. You're ready to go to the mattresses over this right now.
Because
on Friday, we all,
Go ahead.
Oh, we all went out, right? After the show Friday, and I just pointed out that Matthew Stafford has the best play caller and 1-2 punch at receiver, and he plays indoors, and everything is perfect. He's great. And LaQuan almost crashed out for a good bit.
Try to get me kicked out of the restaurant, because how is that a ding? Like, how are we sitting here saying, oh, well, he has the most touchdowns within 1 yard? Who cares? How did they get there? How did they even get in striking distance? Oh my!
See how easy that was? You see how easy that was?
I mean, look, he cannot be saying that.
If he completed 13 passes in a row last night, I would be willing to give him the MVP. But he fell short. He only did 12.
Chat, do you see what's happening right now? Stirring the pot,
you see how
revving me up,
right?
No,
like, most people would have just like, because again, everybody, listeners out there, he knows what we're doing. He knows that we're trying to get him riled up. Like, we've made no secret of this. It's not hiding. We're like, we say these things just to see you get upset. And every single time,
tears in my eyes.
Like, literally, like at some point, I want you to be the Tom Hardy, like, Mad Max meme, right? Just look at it and go, that's bait. Like, at some point, I just want you to do that. But you don't. Every single time, so we keep going.
You guys were up 4 scores on national TV last night, and you were crashing out in our text.
No, I purposely put my phone in the other room. Like, I was like, I know what this game is going to turn into. I know what they're going to do in the group chat. I'm charging my phone in the other room because I just knew you guys were going to try to stir the pot.
Well, you only won because Baker got hurt.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I'm letting that bus go by.
See, that's growth. That's growth. That is growth. Right?
I'll have to do better is what I hear.
This is what we're trying to inspire in you is growth. That's all. It's fine.
Less crashes. Okay, you guys are trolling.
You were fighting strangers on the internet for a group of 53 guys who most of them don't know you exist. Like, it's okay.
It's okay.
Fine. I will say this,
I will fight these battles.
If the Rams go to Seattle and lose and JSN finishes with 2,000, I'm going to be championing him for MVP.
Offensive player of the year. That's fine. That's okay. We all know that he's not going to win it, though. Like, let's be serious. Let's be honest, right? A wide receiver's not going to win MVP.
Yeah, he's not. But he should if he does what he's on pace to do.
That's great. But when we go back 10, 15, 25 years later and look back in the record books, it's going to say Matthew Stafford 2025. I mean, honestly, there's nobody remember. Like, nobody's going to remember, JSN. Oh, yeah.
If he goes for 2,000 for the first time ever, his year will be more memorable than Matthew Stafford.
People are going to remember that. Yeah, people are going to remember that for sure.
Who won the MVP the year Calvin put up 1947 or whatever it was?
I don't know.
But we all remember Calvin.
I don't know. But who's throwing him the ball?
That's his point. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're getting close to the fantasy playoffs. We're going to talk about some guys you can stash on your fantasy roster to maybe get you ready for the second season. Of course, we'll have Drop Zone. We'll have Waiver Wire. But first, let's get going with some news because a whole lot of news has happened in the last 24 hours or so. Starting with kind of the last bit of news first. Raiders in the middle of a pretty miserable season. Don't ask me why. Stayed up late and rewatched that game against the Browns. Maybe because I don't like myself. I'm not sure. But either way, the Raiders have fired Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator. I just saw, in fact, moments ago that Greg Olsen, the quarterback coach, not the former tight end, member of the 7th Floor crew, not that guy. Greg Olsen is going to take over as the interim offensive coordinator. Florio, when you look at this, does this have an immediate impact, or do you anticipate, I should say, an immediate impact on Ashton Jeanty, Brock Bowers, Tyler Lockett, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
The funny thing is we've seen Greg Olsen in this role. Like, he's already been the OC for 4, 5, 6 different seasons for the Raiders. And this is now his 3rd tenure in this role. Like, all roads apparently lead back to Greg. The other candidates were 2 coaches with the last name Carroll. So you can figure out how they got that job. But yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot to change, right? Like Olsen was already part of the person putting the game plan. Chip Kelly, maybe it'll change a little bit and stuff like that. But if you're Greg Olsen coming in here, you've already been the quarterback's coach this season. And look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the Raiders roster and be like, there's 2 players worth feeding as much as we possibly can. So I'm kind of operating until we see otherwise that Jeanty and Brock Bowers are the only Raiders worth starting. Maybe Tre Tucker if you're in like a pinch in a deeper league or something like that. But the one thing I will say about the Raiders, and I hope it doesn't change, they've been throwing the ball a lot more to Ashton Jeanty lately. I think he had 8 targets this week. Like, as long as you keep doing that, and you keep Brock Bowers also had like double-digit targets. You keep doing that, fantasy managers are going to be okay. I
mean, part of why they throw it so much to Ashton Jeanty is because they can't run it with him. I mean, the offensive line, it looks like a Black Friday sale. I mean, just a big box electronics store on Black Friday. Like, the doors open and the defensive line just comes flooding in. I mean, I know some of it yesterday is because it was the Browns and Myles Garrett or whatever, but it's bad. LaQuan, is it crazy to think they're going to make a quarterback change too? Like, can they keep this going with Geno Smith? Because there are a lot of things wrong, but Geno's not helping the problem.
No, and like Geno said last week, like, if there's a problem with the offense, if it looks weird, blame it on me. I mean, we've been blaming it on Geno since week 1, to be honest. Like, that's nothing new. And honestly, if Pete Carroll wants to keep the dressing room, like the culture of the team, to be anywhere near remotely positive, they need to make a QB change. They need to change something up. Because like firing all these guys, you're just taking, staff out of the building, but you're not bringing anything in or switching or making any adjustments to say, hey, we can go out here and win this game. There's no hope right now in Vegas right now. Like, I think a QB change, at least you'll see something different from your offense. You'll see something different from Tre Tucker. Maybe there's some type of connection there with other, pass catchers like a Jack Besh or a Deontay Thornton that we have not seen in weeks. Like, I do think if you sit in this black hole, it's going to be just bad results week in and week out for the rest of the season.
They did activate Aiden O'Connell, so he's activated off of injured reserve. He's available. Kenny Pickett is still there. Stop me if one of these guys really inspires you. But it's just, again, watching it, the offensive line is terrible. Geno's holding the ball too long. When he does have time, he's missing throws. It was a mess yesterday watching them. And, short throws to Ashton Jeanty was one of the few things that worked.
We're going to see a teardown, right? Like, it feels that way.
Yeah. I think it starts with them strongly suggesting to Pete Carroll that maybe he go back to retirement. They've fired their offensive coordinator. I think they fired their defensive coordinator earlier in the year. This thing is going to have to just be torn down and rebuilt from the bottom up because
free Max.
That might have to be part of it. I mean, at some point, he's not the key to really turn around what you're doing there. And I don't know how much longer he's going to want to be there in this situation.
He just signed a deal, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if
him and Myles Garrett, man, like they chose to ride out their careers. They chose
money. Money over wins, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point, if you're the Raiders, I don't know, there's value there. Why not try to get some draft picks or something back? Or something for him. I don't know. Last night at SoFi Stadium, the Rams completely dominated the Buccaneers. Is that sufficient enough praise? Is that sufficient enough praise for you? I need your mentals to stay straight for the remainder of the show. That's all I need.
Is the next thing Marcus is going to say.
Baker Mayfield along the way suffered a shoulder injury, expected to have an MRI sometime on Monday. The fear is a sprained AC joint. We saw Teddy Two Gloves step in there, Teddy Bridgewater, and finish things out for the Buccaneers. So, LaQuan, I mean, if it is Teddy Bridgewater, which very well could be likely, does that mean it's curtains for Emeka Egbuka, Chris Godwin, those guys, Tez Johnson at this point?
For a bit, like, I'm very hesitant in looking at Chris Godwin, coming back from injury. We didn't see much from him in this game. I think, Emeka Egbuka, he remains a starter for a lot of folks if you don't have any other options. I like Teddy Two Gloves, regardless of the, the fuzzy history between him and the Rams and stuff like that. If you know, I think that, Teddy, he just hasn't really played as a starter in so long that we're going to be able to get a revive of a Joe Flacco or Davis Mills. This is not that situation whatsoever, folks. I think Teddy Two Glove is going to go in there and do his absolute best. I think the next couple games coming up, I know the Cardinals defense, they've made some adjustments. They looked a lot better. Might want to get away from Chris Godwin. I'm not sure if Bucky Irvin coming back even helps this offense if they're not going to be able to throw the ball. I mean, honestly, looking at Teddy Two Gloves for the next couple of weeks with his AC sprain or whatever it is for Baker, you kind of have to just pivot to other options here. I don't have high expectations for those guys whatsoever.
Was this a veiled LaMarcus Joyner reference? Is that what that was?
Jeez, come on, bro. If you know, you know. But yeah.
I mean, look, there's people out there who don't know, who are probably like, wait, what are you talking about?
Go look it up. If you know, you know.
You can't just throw out shadow references. I mean, you got to give people information.
I wasn't too happy with that hit, man, because again, you don't want to see your guys get smashed like that, especially Teddy Two Glove. He's one of the good ones out there, man.
Yeah. So anyway, the Bucs offense has really been struggling. I mean, last night they were bad. The Rams shut them down, but also they've kind of been on the struggle bus for a few weeks now too. So this is not going to help things. Tee Higgins, Florio left the game with a concussion on Sunday. No surprise, he's already been ruled out with it being a short week. it seemed pretty likely that he was not going to play. I guess the good news is Jamar Chase should be back, providing he does not expectorate on anyone else between now and Thursday evening. Joe Burrow expected to play as well. Burrow back, Chase back, but no Tee Higgins. Could we maybe throw Andre Yoshivas into some lineups somewhere?
If you're in need, but there's no buys this week, so you likely have a better option because, look, I'm playing Joe Burrow if he plays. Obviously, you're playing Jamar Chase. But even this past, I know it wasn't Burrow, but like Yoshivas was solid, I think in a half, and he gave you something around 10 points. Who I think is even, in my opinion, I like even more this week? Mitchell Tinsley. I think he can come in and be the Tee Higgins, the outside, the X guy. Man, he went up and caught one over Christian Gonzalez and then stared him down. And I was like, that is alpha wide receiver one type behavior. Yeah. Let's not forget, Tinsley balled out in preseason, and that's how he made the roster to begin with. So
we're Browning.
I think Tinsley is the floor is probably a little bit safer for Andre, but I think Tinsley is but again, these are both if you're going deeper because there's no buys this week, which is huge. So you should have your full allotment of receivers available.
Yeah. Side note to that, there are no buys this week. There are buys next week when people are really fighting to make the playoffs. Maybe we should have had some 4-team bye weeks instead of a couple of 2-team bye weeks, and maybe we could have solved this problem. But, what do I know? I just talk about fake football for a living. LaQuan Alvin Kamara leaves the game yesterday with a knee injury. He was out in the second half. This week, the Saints have the Miami Dolphins, who, for all their improvement, still stink against the run. Again, no buys. So let's say this is like a DFS thing, or you play in some insane 20-team league or something like that. Would you trust Devin Neal in at least what's on paper a good situation?
Yeah, if the situation looks good. I mean, Miami, we know they stink against the run, but I think Devin Neal running 32 routes yesterday looks amazing for a guy in PPR formats because Tyler Shuck is going to check that ball down. Like, he still has that identity or role of Alvin Kamara. So if he's going to be running that many routes and have that opportunity to catch a couple passes, why not? I honestly think as a runner, though, I'm a little hesitant. He has like a lot of hesitation in his pace in terms of hitting the line. Not great yards before contact. I do think that, as he gets more reps as the guy, maybe as the weeks progress on and on, that we'll start seeing some life from him in between the tackles, outside zone scheme, whatever they want to run it. But I think Devin Neal in those deep cut leads, I'm talking like down bad, like, bro, I ain't got nobody else out there. I understand if you're picking him up and trying to just get something going and put him in there against the Miami Dolphins.
It's Taysom time, baby.
I was going to ask you
yesterday.
I was going to ask you about that. I really was going to ask you about that.
I will never praise that man. Get him off of the team. No.
Why is it? How is it that this has endured? This is the third different coach. This is the third coach. Now, I'm going to even do the Inglourious Bastards. Three coaches, right? It went from Sean Payton to Dennis Allen, and now Kellen Moore has, like, what sort of sway, what sort of Jedi mind powers does Taysom Hill have over this organization that at 35 years old, coming off ACL surgery, he played like 24, 25 snaps, had 10 rushing attempts, led the team in rushing attempts yesterday, threw two passes. Yeah. Why? Why is this still happening? I don't understand.
I think at this point, they probably view him as their best power runner. And they were using him a lot near the goal line. So the reason I'm in on Taysom Hill is we talk about it a lot. The bar for success at tight end is so much lower than other positions. If he gets a rushing touchdown against Miami, he will be probably a top 12 tight end next week. So if that, look, no buys. I don't want to throw Devin Neal in one of my 2 RB spots. But if I'm streaming tight ends, which I have to in a lot of leagues because I have injuries, I might take a chance on Taysom.
So, ban Taysom. Ban him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I don't support him.
The wild part of this is, and I'm filibustering, so I'm trying to figure something out. So I think according to the Saints roster, isn't he a quarterback?
Yeah.
Which means, at least according to the conventions of NFL.com fantasy leagues, he should be a quarterback. He should not be tight end eligible. And I don't want, like, I think we're past the point where people are going to, like, you know, text us or DM us or whatever and, like, want these switch, because nobody really wants Taysom Hill on their fantasy rosters anymore.
I'm here to tell you he's still listed as a tight end on our app.
That's terrible.
That's terrible. We need to
stream it, baby.
We need to call the authorities. We got to call the authorities on this one. Like, I'm usually not about dry snitching or anything like that, but in this situation, I feel like we can make an exception. We can't. This nonsense cannot stand.
I don't think he should be a quarterback. He played more as a running back, right? Like, he threw 2 passes, but he also ran 5 routes. Like, he is a flex. That's what he should be.
We need to just save people from themselves, right? Don't even give people the option. Don't even tempt people with that, right? Like, it's like putting a bowl of candy in front of a diabetic. Like, don't do this. Don't tempt people like that.
Look what you just, oh my God. Look what you just did.
Look, I'm not saying to start him, like, no questions asked. But again, like, I have a league where I lost Sam Laporta and the waiver wire is thin and I'm streaming week to week. I might just throw a dart on Taysom in that situation.
Florio, I love you and I want better for you.
I played AJ Barner this week and that didn't really work out.
I don't know. I just feel like I would take my chances with AJ Barner over Taysom. I would hate myself. Well, when
you have the MVP JSN, I mean, he's not going to get any targets.
I mean, that's true. That's a fair point, though, actually.
Yeah.
Because when the MVP is taking all the oxygen
from LaQuan's mouth to God's ears.
I know, right? I mean, LaQuan, I'm glad you admitted it, so it's cool.
We need to clip that.
Don't. Anyway. Kyrie, don't.
Just him saying MVP JSN.
Nope. This is the most unhinged show we've had in a while. Anyway, last bit of news before we take a break and catch our breath and get our faculties back. LaQuan Aaron Rodgers expects to play. I know he was telling everybody he expected to play this week, even if we didn't really believe it. But both he and the team expects that he's going to play next week against the Buffalo Bills. I know DK Metcalf left the game banged up, but I think they are expecting that he should be okay and good to go. Does it even matter anymore? I mean, it doesn't matter with the Steelers.
Yeah. No, like I think like you can honestly entertain Gainwell, Warren, DK Metcalf based on the matchup, but with him banged up, who knows? But Aaron Rodgers himself, no, I don't see this making a difference. I mean, who do they got this week? The Bills. I mean, Florio. I mean, what do you expect out of Aaron Rodgers? You ain't fearful. You ain't like, oh well, we might take a L to the elite quarterback MVP Super Bowl winning Aaron Rodgers. No, I mean, like, he's not moving the needle for anybody. Like, even for fantasy, like, at one point he showed a stability to be a low-end QB1, but now what we've seen these last couple of weeks with him banged up and with the wrist, it's like, it's a dub. We got like 4 weeks left for some fantasy rosters that go into the playoffs. Like, you run into the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. I'm not. I don't have any rosters with him, to be honest, but rosters with him, they're probably not even sniffing the playoffs with him if he's your QB1.
I think the argument is Rudolph might be better for your pass catchers than Aaron, at least for DK Metcalf.
I can say that too. I think Mason Rudolph, like, going into this week, I was hesitation because honestly, I was like, we know who's on the sticks. It's Arthur Smith. So it's like the offense and system is going to be based on him. Like, you know, like it's going to be a low pass volume, heavy run, kind of what we saw, honestly. But I do think Mason Rudolph to give us a little bit more because Aaron Rodgers ain't moving in that pocket. Like, he ain't doing what he used to do anymore. Like, give us Mason Rudolph fighting for a job next year. Who cares?
I mean, I guess. I think the idea of Mason Rudolph, this like idea that he's going to push the ball downfield, I don't think it matches up with reality. Like yesterday, he had less than 6 air yards per attempt. This offense is boring. Aside from like Darnell Washington occasionally steamrolling a defensive back, like there's just nothing here that I care about at all.
I think it goes back to what Cam was saying the other day that like, there's just with Rodgers, even though the talent might not be much better, like there's that mental thing that like it's easier for the Steelers players to get amped up and to feel like they could compete and stuff. That's probably it.
He could paint a pretty picture, and the paint is doo-doo. That's what the canvas is getting right now. Like, come on, bro, this offense sucks.
Speaking of which, the Browns. I just saw that they have announced that. Shedeur Sanders is going to be their starting quarterback for Week 13. They are at home against the 49ers. We can talk about Shedeur a little bit later. I don't really want to get like, I don't know. He was fine.
He wasn't great, but he's better than Gabriel.
He's okay.
All right, man.
Kevin Stefanski's not a fan, but
he was
that's
fine.
okay.
I mean, it's fine. Like he had the one deep shot to Isaiah Bond. That was a nice throw. Everything else was like within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. And the Raiders decided to not tackle Dylan Sampson, and he went for a long touchdown run. True. It was fine. It was fine. Like, I guess if you don't like him, then, you take that and you pick it apart. If you like him, you take that and use it to your advantage. I think I'm sort of neutral on Shedeur, and so it was just what it was.
I just think he's got more upside than Gabriel. And I've thought this since February of last year when I started watching them. Like, I've never was a Dylan Gabriel believer.
Just look at the fans reacting to anything he did yesterday, right? Like you got the kids in the stands in the Browns jersey throwing the wrist. Like it's time, bro. I have nothing against Dylan Gabriel, but I was like, when are we gonna pull the plug on this? Like we've seen that for so many weeks where it was just like, what are you seeing that you think is going to be the future of this franchise? Like, obviously, Shedeur can distract all the bad play just with his aura. You have kids in the stand, I say again, just going like this with the watch. I'm telling you, they were so excited to see him get that shine and make those plays, what plays he did make. But looking at what the audience was watching, like you have to entertain at the end of the day. Nobody's paying a ticket to watch Dylan Gabriel.
But there was nothing entertaining about watching that. Like it was a bunch of it was the same thing Mason Rudolph was doing, but it just didn't have a gimmicky celebration. Like what was exciting about
the
that? And you talk about the fans in the
Cleveland.
stand. You talk about the fans. I mean, like that's like when you talk about like the kids getting excited. All I thought was Johnny Manziel. I just thought about the Johnny Manziel money sign.
I would rather Manziel than some.
No,
Gabriel.
Yeah, actually, I would. I would rather have Johnny Manziel.
Everything you said about like Shedeur, like it was one long pass. Well, Gabriel is everything, but without that long pass. And he can't move. He doesn't have the arm to throw downfield. Like. But
it's still the
other thing is, like,
day.
this was, and Sanders was very vocal on this, which I know the Browns hated, but I liked for him. Like, this was his first week of reps with the ones all year. And he put up numbers that Gabriel hasn't been able to put up. Like, again, it's the Browns. We're not getting excited for fantasy or anything like that. But from a viewer, I'm much more interested in the Browns now than I was a week ago.
So I'll leave you with this because this is going to be the last time we talk about Shedeur Sanders this week. I'm going to try to make that a point.
No, he's a sneaky start this week against those whiners.
No, he's not.
Let's go, Shedeur.
No, he's not.
Put him to bed.
The last thing I'm going to say about this is my wife is a Shedeur Sanders supporter. She has been for the last couple of years. And so she says, hey, can you put on the Browns game? Yeah, sure. Whatever. I turn it on. Several minutes later, she says, oh, both of these teams are bad, huh? Yeah.
Yes,
they are.
very much so.
They are.
But so we are a couple weeks away from the start of the fantasy playoffs in most leagues. So at this point, the trade deadlines have passed. Of course, you can still go out and make waiver wire claims to this point. So maybe some guys that are out there on the waiver wire that you might want to hold on to. This doesn't mean you're automatically starting them, but in case you have some of the the matchups, or you have matchups that you don't like, maybe these are some other options for you. So quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, QB. I was, LaQuan, very surprised to see this name that you dropped in here for the quarterback position. I open the floor to you.
It's William Trevor Lawrence, okay? William, because he's no longer Trevor Mid-Lawrence. He's no longer Trevor. We are not giving him cool names. He probably thought back in the day Trevor was cool for him. No, we're not giving you cool points. But I will say this. He's a stash for the fantasy playoffs. He is a QB2 with high-end QB2 upside, being that he's using his legs. My boy has 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games. The fact that he is being selfish, I say selfish because he doesn't benefit any of the other pass catchers, unless you're Brenton Strange. But I do think that Trevor Mid-Lawrence, William Lawrence has upside to be a stability of going into the fantasy playoffs. Like him using his legs is giving him the rushing upside that we love from a Caleb Williams, a Bo Nix. picks, et cetera, et cetera. He's not Josh Allen, Justin Fields, et cetera, but he's right there on the cusp of where like, hey, I can get rushing upside out of him where he can get 16 to 18 fantasy points, which is fine. You don't want to be sitting here with the likes of an Aaron Rodgers or even oh my God, I don't know how many people are still rostering Joe Flacco, but the magic is gone. Joe Burrow is on the way back. You know what I mean? And Marcus, you can let that go. Yeah, I was like, damn, Joe, this is what we doing? That's how we playing now? All right. But when you're looking at the Marcus Mariotas of the world and all those quarterbacks that are bottom tier that I feel, unfortunately to say, comfortable picking up Trevor. I mean, God, I keep doing it. William for the rest of the season as a QB2 to stash.
Yeah, William Lawrence sounds like a financial advisor.
Yeah, he probably got picked on. They probably called him
Will Lawrence seems like a cool dude, though. You know, if you just want to be Will Lawrence,
probably a good person, man. But
Will Lawrence, I'd hang out with for sure. Florio, who's your quarterback fantasy playoff stash?
One that I think should have been picked up a while ago. He's been a start for 4 weeks in a row now. It's Jacoby Brissett, who is still just 35% rostered. And I know in a lot of my leagues, people were picking him up just for the week because of buys or injuries or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if with no teams on bye this week, if he gets thrown back out there. And I will say he's coming off his worst fantasy performance of the season, where he only gave you 18.7 fantasy points. Like, he is so reliable. Stability. He should not be out there. And then he gets the Bucs this week. I think you could just straight up play him if you're in need. I would sit him the 2 weeks after that. He gets the Rams and the Texans, showing your Rams some respect. But then he gets the Falcons, who, despite starting the year really hot, have been lit up through the air lately. And then championship week, the Cincinnati Bengals. So, yeah, even if you have a quarterback that you like, just have Jacoby on your bench just in case. Or maybe you don't love your matchups late in the year, something like that. Because if he's starting week 17, he's going to win some people some championships.
I do some stuff with a really smart, fun guy named Gene Clemens, and he coined a phrase that I think we should all adopt. Jacoby, Brissett it and forget it.
I love it.
Yes. Jacoby Brissett it and forget it.
Do you think folks are still out there thinking that Kyler Murray's coming back and that's why his rostership is so low? Like, why is he only rostered in 32% of leagues? That's insane.
Well, because I think, I don't know. I think it's a point where, it's a stigma, but it's also like you get to some point where you're in a league and either you have a quarterback you like or your team stinks and you're probably not really paying full attention. So you're not really adding him off the waiver wire. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with reasons.
It's also not pretty when you watch him all the time. Like yesterday, he didn't play particularly well, but
yeah,
they're in catch-up mode very often. So he finishes with good fantasy points.
That is true. Yeah. This is one I didn't think we'd be saying a few weeks ago, but Tua Tagovailoa should be picked up and added. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's going to be a guy that you're starting every single week, but the Dolphins have started playing better, right? They put together a couple of wins in a row. I think I mentioned this on the show last week, right? That there is a good chance coming out of the bye that they could run the table the rest of the way and end at 10-7, maybe be a playoff team. But you look at their fantasy playoff schedule. They've got the Steelers on the road, which, we know how Tua is in the cold, so that might not be great particularly. But at the Steelers, at home against the Bengals, and at home against the Bucs. That's a very workable schedule for Tua. Especially if he's just throwing dump offs to Devon Achane and letting him do the rest. Jalen Waddle has become a big thing. Darren Waller is going to be coming back at some point really soon too. So there are reasons there to be excited. And for all these struggles that the Dolphins have had, Mike McDaniel can still draw up an offense. The rest of it you might want to argue with. You can quibble over the rest of it. He can still draw up an offense. So Tua. Oh, speaking of quarterbacks, and this just came across my timeline as we were talking. Kevin O'Connell says J.J. McCarthy is in concussion protocol. McCarthy reported some symptoms as the Vikings came home last night. So
my bro had a concussion for the last 5 weeks. What's up?
So it's just something to keep an eye on. We'll see. Maybe Max Brosmer. Is it Brosmer? Could be the guy that gets the start next week. We shall see.
Throw the ball to Justin Jefferson.
We shall see. Running back playoff stashes. I guess let's keep the Dolphin theme rolling here, LQ.
Yeah, I like Ollie Gordon, man. The last we've seen of him was against the Washington Commanders, and I liked everything I saw from him with the limited touches. I mean, it looks like he got some juice. I mean, honestly, 9 touches and 6 of those touches were in striking distance, so valuable touches that he has on the table for him. And I think, honestly, when you're looking at Devon Achane, he has the 5th highest stuff rate in the red zone. So I do think when you insert Ollie Gordon to kind of throw off the defenses as a 1-2 punch that you can roll Ollie Gordon and Devon Achane, I think for the fantasy playoffs, I want all the running backs that are going to be able to be put in striking distance. The same way we look at Tyler Algier, Zach Charbonnet. We could start pushing and nudging Ollie Gordon into that conversation, being that he had a season high of snaps the last time we saw him. And just having that bye, I'm pretty sure some folks with the bye, we just threw him to the waiver wire and not really thinking about picking him back up. So he's sneaking under the radar as a guy that I think is going to be getting more opportunities as the Dolphins move forward.
Yeah, I like that too. Florio, we talked about this guy. So Sean Tucker, I'm stealing your thunder a little bit, but you're not worried about Bucky Irving at all, huh?
Well, I am, but even when Bucky was at his best last year, Rachaad White still played a part in this offense. And that's what I'm kind of thinking Sean Tucker could be. He could be the guy who gets like 8 to 12 touches as like the change of pace. But I know he struggled Sunday night against the Rams, but he is by far their most explosive runner. And that might include Bucky. Like, we have to see what Bucky looks like when he comes back. But Bucky was averaging just over 3 yards per carry before he got hurt. And then you look at this schedule. He gets the Cardinals next week and then the Saints. Those are 2 favorable matchups. But in the playoffs, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Dolphins. So even on limited touches, he could be someone that you're putting into your flex option, and it only takes 1 or 2 big plays for him to come through in fantasy. So I think a lot of people are probably going to throw Tucker back because he had a down game this week. They're like, Bucky's coming back, Baker's hurt. And if that is the case, I would be looking to add him and get him on your bench. Even if you don't need him, like what if one of your running backs get hurt or something like that? He is someone that you could plug in one of these matchups, and they could potentially come through in a big way.
Yeah, and you can watch, even though he didn't have a good game last night, you see the burst. Like when he gets the ball in his hand, you can see the explosiveness there.
I thought he was going to break one off. I thought he was going to break off a couple or two, because honestly, like when you see him get the ball, it's a night and day experience with Rachaad White and Sean Tucker. For sure. It's like they know what they're doing now.
Similar to that, I mean, I think Brian Robinson is the guy that should be added across leagues. I mean, obviously there's the obvious of if something were to happen to Christian McCaffrey, then he steps into a really big workload. But also watching the way he's started to fit into the offense lately, running hard. I know he had the angry run a couple of weeks ago. He's at a point now where the Niners feel confident giving him a few extra snaps just so that they can rest McCaffrey. So it's not, it's not like a huge workload, right? I mean, we know who the RB1 is in San Francisco when he's healthy, but it is getting to a point where they feel confident giving Robinson, a drive here or there, like one maybe late in the first half, maybe one sort of mid of the second half, just giving him that opportunity to get the ball in his hands, give McCaffrey a chance to rest. And when they get down near the goal line, he does sort of turn it up a notch. Like he does have that nose for the end zone and he can sense it. And so when they get close, that touchdown upside sort of comes into play a little bit. But again, it's another situation where if nothing else, especially if you have Christian McCaffrey, you definitely want Brian Robinson. But even if you don't, maybe just to get him away from the hands of the McCaffrey manager a little bit and give yourself some insurance there in the backfield heading into the postseason. Over to wide receivers, LQ, who you like?
I like Jaden Higgins, man, and he's a rookie and he's coming along the back end of the season, man. If you look at his last 3 games, man, he is getting targeted on 31% of his routes. That is an elite tier. That's the 6th highest in that span within the last 3 games. So obviously every route that he is running has value in it. And I know Davis Mills has been really the spark the last couple of weeks for Nico Collins and the Jaden Higgins. But I think even with CJ Stroud coming back, we still should see a lot of Jaden Higgins, man. 7+ targets in the last 4 of his 5 games. This guy's starting to get elite volume and elite opportunities, being that, hey, Nico Collins, he doesn't have the best history of like having like a good health record. So I think if he gets banged up at any point and you're sitting in the playoffs, you're sitting with a guy that's possibly the number one wide receiver. I know Christian Kirk is there. I know Jalen Noel is there, but I think Higgins has been stepping out, showing up and showing out a lot brighter than the other guys in that wide receiver room outside of Nico Collins.
All right, so we got some life down in Houston. Florio, yesterday you asked us whether you should sit Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton. I will tell you that I made a poor choice when I told you to sit Wan'Dale, and thankfully for my sake, you didn't listen to me.
I did last minute put Slayton in for Darnell Mooney because those were the three I was debating, and that one didn't work out. But luckily I had Wan'Dale in, and I know he's pretty highly rostered at this point. If you're in like a 10-team league, he might be out there. But I do have a couple of leagues where the trade deadline hasn't passed yet. I don't think it's a bad idea to try to get Wan'Dale on your team, and I think Darius Slayton is someone you could throw a dart on right now as well. They get the Patriots and the Commanders, their final two games before the fantasy playoffs, which are both plus matchups, especially the Commanders. But then in the playoffs, they get the Vikings, the Raiders, and the Cowboys. Like, you're not afraid of any of those defenses, especially if Jackson Dart is back. So I think the Giants are going to have to throw a lot. Their running game is what it is at this point. And they could, at least in a couple of those games, they could be trailing. They actually could win 2 of those 3 games too, now that I think about it. But just the way that the offense seems to be clicking right now, I really believe in Dart, and Wan'Dale is showing out in a big way. So yeah, I think these are guys that you want on your roster.
Yeah. Look, man, I would vote for keeping Jameis in there. Just here's the thing.
He's more fun.
So this is sort of that thing we talked about with like the Colts, right? Like the whole Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson thing, right? Like Anthony Richardson is the guy you want because you want quarterback stats. I think that's Jackson Dart because he's going to run. He's going to score those rushing touchdowns. Jameis Winston's the guy that helps your wide receivers because he's just going to sling the ball and apparently catch the ball too. Whoever that Lions defender was, he probably should have to retire now. Because you gave up a catch like on an inadvertent back shoulder throw. It wasn't the real back shoulder throw. It was just poorly thrown, and Jameis had to slow down and stop. And then he breaks a tackle and shakes you to the end zone. That's probably
360.
Wait, I misread that. So their playoffs are Commanders, Vikings, Raiders. I misread it. It is a fantastic playoff, and go grab the Giants defense now too. Those are all you could stream against all 3 of those.
Yeah, that's a good call. Good call on that. So I have Tez Johnson here. Now, obviously, depending on the seriousness of Baker's injury, that could change. But I think when you sort of look at this offense and with no Mike Evans, Chris Godwin is back, but I think he's still working his way back into shape. That means a lot more attention is going to Emeka Egbuka. And Tez Johnson is finding opportunities. I mean, we saw it early in that game last night that they were getting him the ball. He caught the touchdown pass from Baker in the first half, but he is starting to get more looks. And I think that goes a long way when you're talking about this offense and where they're going, because I said earlier, this has not been the same offense the last month that it was early in the season, but not a bad playoff schedule. They've got the Falcons at the Panthers, which could be difficult. It really could mean a lot for the division, depending on how these next couple of weeks goes. And then at Miami to end things. So there are some opportunities there, but I think more than anything, I think volume and just somebody you can throw on a flex in a pinch. And I think Tez Johnson sort of fits that category right now. Finally, tight ends. And LaQuan, I love how you bookend this with Jaguars. Starting with Jaguars here.
It just happened that way. But Brenton Strange was amazing, man. And like I was one of the few folks that picked him up when he was on the waiver wire for all the injuries. And I think a lot of folks forgot about him with the constant rotation of tight ends that we were popping on and off the waiver wire. And I think him coming in and making a statement, game 1, 93 yards. My boy came in and showed up and showed out. And earlier in the season, we saw there was flashes where he can hold a 20% target share. He can have all the volume in the red zone as well, where there's touchdown upside with Trevor Mid-Lawrence. And I think at the end of the day, when you look at the tight end position, all we want is 10 fantasy points. And I think he can give you that stability, being that we've seen this offense A, support a tight end like Cade Otton with Liam Cohen, and B, we saw it with Evan Ingram when he was there with Trevor Mid-Lawrence. So there's obviously familiarity there with the position and the quarterback. So I think in the playoffs, man, if you were looking for stability at the tight end position, I promise you he's probably on your waiver wire right now.
All right. Florio, would you like to change this name to Taysom Hill instead of what you do have currently?
No, because that's a 1 week thing for Taysom. But in the league that I referenced where I lost Sam Laporta, I started AJ Barner, and then on Saturday night I picked up Brenton Strange. So I think I'm just riding out with these two throughout the fantasy playoffs. But AJ Barner, I know this past week he disappointed, only gave you less than 3 fantasy points, but more often than not, JSN is a one-man MVP wrecking crew, but more often than not, the number 2 target, especially in the red zone, is AJ Barner. And then their schedule, their final 3 playoff games, fantasy playoff games, the Colts, the Rams, the Panthers. The Colts and Panthers are both in the top 6 in fantasy points per game against tight ends. And LQ, as good as your Rams have been in the last month, they kind of look like their old selves when it comes to tight ends. They're in the top 2 in fantasy points allowed. So it's just a matchup based thing here, but he has 3+ matchups in the fantasy playoffs. So to me, that's enough to be in the streaming category.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem streaming AJ Barner. I mean, I think, the Seahawks have been trying to find other alternatives to JSN. I mean, he's still going to get, I think he's getting like almost 40% of the targets, something like that right now. That's not going to change a lot, but I think they want to find somewhere else to go, right? Cooper Kupp, it's kind of been, I think, what we expected. Rashid Shaheed still has not made an impact since he's got to Seattle. So AJ Barner, come on down. I think that's what it is. Mine's Darren Waller, and I know he's not back yet. I think this week would be the soonest he could come back if they decide to open up his practice window and get him back involved again. But he will come back before the season is over. They have said that very confidently. And I know he wasn't on the field a lot. He wasn't getting a lot of routes. But when he was on the field, they were using him, and especially near the end zone. I mean, he just gives them a big end zone target that they don't have otherwise. And Tua was taking advantage of that. And so we know how this works. If you're a tight end, if you catch a touchdown, all you gotta do is catch a touchdown, and you had a pretty good shot of being a top 10 tight end for the week, right? I mean, you can be. Adam Rank and I a couple years ago came up with the term the 7.1 guys, right? Those guys who catch one catch for 1 yard and a touchdown, 7.1 PPR points. Like, he can do that and then some. So he's absolutely worth having on your roster, maybe playing when the matchup is right. If you're streaming tight ends, Darren Waller is a guy who could sneakily pay some dividends for you down the stretch. The National Football League continues to honor and commemorate the late John Madden with the 4th annual John Madden Thanksgiving celebration on Thursday, November 27th. Madden once said, "There's no place that I would rather be today on Thanksgiving than right here, right now at a football game." And the John Madden Thanksgiving celebration brings together all the things that were important to him: family, football, food, tradition, and fun. So tune in on Thursday while you take down your turkey and stuffing. The Green Bay Packers play the Detroit Lions at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. The Kansas City Chiefs battle the Dallas Cowboys at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS. And the Cincinnati Bengals take on the Baltimore Ravens at 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Enjoy the games and have a happy Thanksgiving. Time to channel Wesley Snipes and head to the drop zone. Guys that we are saying goodbye to on our fantasy rosters. Look, what I see the name you have here, and I'm wondering, will it change if this guy's starting quarterback is out for an extended period of time?
Nope. Get him off the roster. I am done. Bro, he's cooked. We've given him so many chances. I think this is not the first time. It's not the first time TJ Hawkinson has been on this list. It's one of those things where it's like you are hopeful because we hold on to what he did in the past. We know what he's capable of, but it's just not the situation he's in right now. Only 2 games, over 10 fantasy points this season. This guy is not being a top priority target in this offense with JJ McCarthy, Carson Wentz. It doesn't matter who it is who's going to be back there. This offense is not clicking. There's problems at the offensive line. There's obviously a need and focus to get the ball to Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson is not on the totem pole as a guy that I think is going to see much volume. So heading into the fantasy playoffs, if you were going into the fantasy playoffs, you need to make pivot options right now at the tight end position because TJ Hawkinson ain't it.
I'm looking at his game logs here. He had a game where he caught a touchdown and still didn't score 10 fantasy points.
Yikes.
It was a long stretch. He still might not have, where he didn't top 15 yards with JJ McCarthy.
No, he has one. He had one game with 39 yards.
I was about to say that was the game I had hope, but I was like, no, he is toast.
He had 39 yards in a game a couple weeks ago against the Bears.
With the 18% target share. So it's like they were throwing the ball, but it wasn't valuable.
I thought about this yesterday too, and I'll get to you in a second, Florio. But I think there's a conversation to kind of be had in the offseason about whether or not it makes sense to be super wide receiver heavy early in drafts if teams are going to prioritize efficiency and short passing, right? I mean, I think it's a long conversation that involves some research, but I'm just like watching all these teams and all these quarterbacks throw 5-yard passes and throw bubble screens and basically hope their pass catchers can get run after the catch. And so now I'm kind of like, do we load up on wide receivers early if this is how it's going to be and whatever? I don't know. I mean, I'm open to all suggestions, but I just thought about that last night.
Thanks, Lou Anaramo, for the too high trend.
Exactly. I mean, they even took Patrick Mahomes from us. They made him a dump off guy for a while too. Like that's
Joe Brady is doing that to Josh Allen right now.
It's terrible.
But we like Joe Brady.
Who drops his own guy? Good. Would you like to take a moment? Would you like to take a moment to verbally scold Joe Brady before you get into that?
Yeah. Josh Allen has one game this year where he's averaged over 10 air yards per attempt. Like, Khalil Shakir has the lowest air yards per attempt of all wide receivers. That's your best receiver. Like, it's all bubble screens and mesh. He runs mesh like I do in Madden, man, where I'm like, yeah, the computer can't figure this out, except for it's real life humans on the other side and they can figure it out. Anyway, Devin Singletary, who for the first couple of weeks after we lost Cam Scatterboo, it was kind of a split. And then last week we started to see Tracy a little bit in the heavier side. This past week it went fully in that direction. Singletary played just 30% of the snaps. He had no targets. Obviously, Tracy's the better pass catcher of the two, but that was something that we didn't really get prior to this week. And then Singletary had just 14 carries. Low floor play right now. You're hoping for a touchdown if you use him. Probably need a touchdown to get to double-digit fantasy points. He is nothing more than a handcuff, but he's a handcuff on a bad team. So, like, in deeper leagues, sure, you could still stash Devin Singletary if you want. But, like, I have him in a 12-team league, and I'm 100% dropping him this week.
I was kind of surprised because I felt like Brian Dable getting let go was going to be the key to unlock Devin Singletary. It's like, hey man, like he's gone now. Like you can get opportunity. And it's like Mike Kafka looked at it and they're like, he's like, nah. Nah, sorry, this is not gonna work. Mine's a guy that hasn't played for you all year, and it's like it's officially like you can just let it go now. Joe Mixon, I looked, was still rostered in like over 65% of NFL.com leagues, and you can say goodbye now. He hasn't played all year. Like, it's like when they've asked D'Amico Ryans about it, he's done everything short of saying, who's Joe Mixon? Like, I mean, they just have no answers for like what's going on down there. And now they've pretty much conceded that he's probably not going to play this season. I mean, if he somehow does come back to play, you're probably looking at like week 16, 17, 18, something like that. Like, it's just, it's not worth it at this point.
But let him tell it. I mean, he shot back at our guy, our insider, Ian. Like, what are we doing? Like, he thinks that he's playing this year?
I mean, like, I saw that, like, I can't remember what the exact quote was, but basically, like, fake news or something like that. And I'm like, but like, Joe Mixon has done nothing to suggest he's on track to play, right? Like, we don't even get blurry cell phone video. Like, I at least want some Bigfoot-like footage, right, of Joe Mixon.
That picture was taken on a flip phone, probably a Razor Motorola, probably.
I need something where it's like, somebody from a distance, like, bro, I think that's Joe Mixon working out on this high school field. Like, I need one of those at least.
Yeah.
Something, nothing. So if you were holding on to hope that Joe Mixon was going to somehow come back late in the seaan, like you can move on from that.
Question.
Yes.
While we're on this topic, do we see Brandon Ayuk this year? I have hit a lot of that.
No. He got
just be throwing him back.
I thought about making this a combo platter for this segment too, just being like Joe Mixon, Brandon Ayuk, like you can say bye to both of them.
Remember when it was week 6 was the timeline?
Yeah.
And he was running routes.
Yeah. The only real question with Brandon Ayuk is where or if he plays football next year. I assume he's going to play for somebody next year. It's definitely not going to be the 49ers. It's not going to be the 49ers. I think a lot of teams are going to look around and be like, do we really need this head case? Like, is he going to give us enough production to mitigate the headaches he causes?
He got the deal he wanted, tore his ACL, and then was upset at the team. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's funny. And again, you know how sometimes you go back through your mind and back through incidents and you realize that, oh yeah, no, this was the signal like way from the beginning. Because remember that first year, they loved it. They drafted him. They loved his talent. They thought he could be a big part of it. And you could see the flashes. But he also spent a good chunk of that first year in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse because he just didn't want to do a lot of the things necessary, right? Like, they needed him to
blocking.
block. Here's the thing. And like, they didn't even need him to be a Puka Nacua level blocker, right? They didn't need him to be one of the, they just needed him to try. They just needed him to try, and he wouldn't even try. And so it was that second year when he started to break out. It's because he finally started to buy into this a little bit. I think he looked around, he's like, oh, if I don't put effort in for these other things, then I can't be on the field to catch the football. But I think that first year Brandon Ayuk has come back, right? Because he had some success. He held out. He got paid. And so then rookie year Brandon Ayuk, at least the mentality started to come back again. And now here we are in a situation where he got paid. He decided he didn't really want to participate. And now the Niners are like, okay, well, we're just going to direct undeposit that money we gave you.
He's not going to get the same deal, right? Fresh off of an ACL?
No.
Like, what are you doing?
An ACL hasn't played in a couple years. Yeah, no, he's not. It's just a notorious head case. Somebody will offer him something, but like it might be the kind of thing where we're 3 weeks into training camp and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, you know, Brandon Ayuk gets like a veteran minimum or something like that.
I've seen Bills fans online be like, that's you. And I'm like, nah, please get someone better. Like,
bro, you guys just cleared the air of Stephon Diggs and that whole thing. Like, I don't think you really
I want
need
AJ Brown. That's the dream. But like, I'll take, there's better options out there. Give me DJ Moore before Brandon Ayuk, you know?
Wow. All right.
Yeah, that's
a low bar.
I don't think you're wrong, but that's a whole.
I just don't want that head case.
Isn't DJ Moore like 29 years old though? Like he's old.
He's 28.
He's old.
I don't want him, but I would take him over Ayuk.
He's old. He's old. He's 28. He'll be 29 next April. So
yeah,
you know that. Anyway.
Ew.
Enough of that. That's a conversation
like
for another time. Yeah, he's not that much younger. Florio, who's on the waiver wire that people should pay attention to this week?
Yeah, he is 27. Wow, I kind of guessed that, and it was right. Quarterbacks we spoke a lot about already. Jacoby Brissett, Trevor Lawrence. Go back 20 minutes and hear why we both like them for the fantasy playoffs. Running backs, Kyle Monangai played not only more snaps, had more carries. Like he is looking like a big threat to DeAndre Swift there. Kareem Hunt. Look, it took him 30 carries to get 100 yards, but they clearly love him. Like he's going to get the goal line work and everything. Isaiah Pacheco looking like he could be back potentially as soon as this week. Trey Benson, they opened up his practice window, right? And they have a pretty favorable schedule moving forward. We spoke about Devin Neal. And then third Kansas City Chief, but Brashard Smith just looks explosive out of that backfield. Maybe they start to hand him more work. It's just more of a deeper stash. Wide receivers, look, you must add Christian Watson and Michael Wilson. Wilson looks like their best receiver right now, and Watson has taken over. He has surpassed Romeo Doubs, so that's all I need to see there. Chimere Dike, Jaden Reed is coming closer to a return. Luther Burden continues to be the wide receiver 3 for the Bears, and they are generating touches for him. Greg Dortch, as long as Marv is out, is in play. Jaden Higgins, as LQ spoke about, we've already discussed the Bengals wide receivers. And then, look, I threw in a couple of Jets here. John Mechie and Adonai Mitchell. Mitchell had like 200 air yards, and Mechie has been productive 2 weeks in a row now. And then Jalen McMillan, he's another week away, I think, but he is going to be back if you need some depth at receiver. And then tight end, Brenton Strange, Juwan Johnson, Colson Loveland, AJ Barner, Taysom Hill, Theo Johnson. Like we spoke about Strange and Barner already. Juwan Johnson continues to be productive. Loveland is getting more utilized, so I'm not sure if I want to start him weekly just yet, but he's getting to that point. And then the others are just kind of deeper dart throws.
I'll tell you that I think I'm down with starting Colston Loveland pretty much every week. He's tied in 5 over the last month. He's just behind Travis Kelce. He's ahead of Mark Andrews, well ahead of Tyler Warren over the last month. I'm kind of down with Colston Loveland at this point. Also, watching Kareem Hunt yesterday, he runs like he has a 2x4 shoved down his back. Like it's straight up. Like Adam Rank used to say that Latavius Murray ran like a door, and that's kind of what Kareem Hunt runs like now. It's like a door. It's just straight up.
It's insane to me that every team knows that when they're on the one, it's going to Kareem Hunt, and yet it still works.
Hey man, look, I grew up in the era of Emmitt Smith, where you knew he was going to get the ball on 3rd and short,
but he was at least
every
good.
single time.
Kareem is good for fantasy. He's good for fantasy.
We had a couple years with Kareem, man. Like that rookie year was amazing for Kareem. He had a couple seasons in there.
This is plotter Kareem Hunt, you know.
This is definitely a different Kareem Hunt than we saw earlier in his career. All right, there you go. That's enough for this show. This has been just completely off the rails from minute
I love
one.
these shows. These are the best shows, Marcus.
From
these
minute
are the
one
best shows.
until minute 60, this one has been off the rails. So kudos to all of you out there who stayed with us and didn't just throw your phone out the window. We are grateful
They
for that.
stay for the crash outs, bro. That's all they stay for.
I appreciate Kyrie Douglas, our producer, hanging in with us as well. But I mean, he sort of doesn't have a choice. But you know, the fact that he didn't just pull the plug on this one halfway through and just say you guys are done, we're grateful for that. So anyway, that'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and live well.